I left service 11 years ago. Even before I left, fighting in build-up areas, fighting insurgency, fighting this kind of level of crime are all taught in every clan, in every country. Incidentally, I commanded the infantry school. I commanded the corps where the infantry school is, and I'm aware that there are special forces corps. A whole department, what you call faculty in the university, in Nigerian Army School of Infantry, combat warfare, counter-terrorist warfare in Jaji, and they know what is happening and they are involved in it. So naturally, a feedback procedure must be in place where they now go in tandem with the new developments of crime. That must be happening now.
Now our men are really trained.
Yes.
But these boys, I don't know where they get their training from, if it's from laptop or from phone, but you could see them outmatch our security forces. How come?
Okay, asymmetric warfare, that's what the type of warfare they are fighting is asymmetric warfare. And it is simply defined that it is the enemy that has the initiative, because there's no war front. He chooses his target, he chooses his time. It's sad. Last Sunday there was an attack on a village. A few days before them, the whole battalion headquarters was sacked. Okay, and we wonder why are they taking us like that? There have been couples of ambush, and by definition, the ambush chooses his site. He sees you coming. You don't know whether he is coming. He chooses his killing ground. You come there, he really unleashes fire on you. That's ambush. Of course, there is anti-ambush drill, but when the ambush is properly coordinated, you can only have 10% survival in any ambush. So the army cannot choose that, I can defeat an ambush or anti-ambush drill. They choose the side. It's an asymmetric war. It's a war that has no war front. A war that the enemy you don't know where he is. It is not as there is a war front and you find him yourself. You are in your village, this village, that village. In Borno, there is no day they are not attacking one village. So which is the next village? And how much force do we have to deploy in every village? How much force do we have to deploy in every village? Communications. And there's a company there, a company is Harmony Section, 3 Section. A company have only about 120, 200 men. That's the whole company. And they come in a avalanche of firepower. And the men must be to kill some of them. Some of the time they are ambushed. So it isn't that they are not trained. It isn't that the army is not training. It isn't, and in every war, there are ambushes. What is happening is not peculiar to Nigeria. It's not at all. Casualties is not peculiar. The problem is, how do we continue to guide against this? The chief of army stars, I am sure, does not sleep. The chief of policy and plans, the chief of operations, they are thinking what is happening. The chief director of military intelligence is wondering, in contact, what is happening? What is happening? How do we know? Again, it comes down to intelligence. The knowledge, you must have knowledge. You must have the information. You are like a sitting dog unless you know you are expecting the enemy. You are like a sitting dog. Therefore, you need a lot of intelligence. So you are fighting for space. The insurgents are trying to woo. You know, 2 days, 3 days ago, we are told they are dividing 20,000 naira to young boys in the area they have captured, so that they can now move on to their side. You know that there's a mechanism where they said anybody who gives information, they're going to slaughter his family. So there's that cold feet. Even if you have information, you are scared to pass the information to our side. See, those are the problems. It's not easy about training at all. On the contrary, those who invented the advanced technology, the technology is used to impede and stop the kind of crime. Why are we not using it? My friend, you get a call. There's the mechanism to tell where the call came from. Even if I put it off this phone, there's a mechanism to trace where this phone is. That's technology, isn't it? Yes. That's cybercrime everywhere. Technology. But the decision to take you and ask for ransom is not dependent only on technology. Technology can only enhance it. That is to say, communication. If they pick you, they needed to talk to who will bring their ransom. That's all I can attribute to technology. There could be other ways of informing you. Somebody can carry a child and the next day he throws a letter in your front, and that's he has communicated with you. Come and give you instruction, drop this XYZ Naira in this point by this time. He has finished his job. If you don't drop so, ABC will happen. Telephone only enhances it now that they can get you and you can respond to them and you can enter a conversation. But that same telephone also makes it more dangerous to now do that. You see, so the development in technology is two-way. It does not help only one person. It's two-way. With technology, we are supposed to know where everybody is. What is happening in Nigeria cannot happen in Dubai for those who come from there. The moment you arrive in Dubai and in a hotel, the record tells you wherever you are. You enter a cab. Somebody has known somewhere that you enter a cab. That's technology. You cannot have it free there. You check into a hotel. The moment you check into a hotel, there is a central point that knows all the visitors that have come to that town that day. That's technology. It is unfortunate that we think we've left the war for the army. The army does not own Nigeria. The army is not fighting its own war. The army is fighting the Nigerian war. You see, it isn't that the army on their own are fighting for you. The whole country is fighting. And all these facets have their responsibilities in this fight. Everybody have their responsibility. Where there is a slack in any of the area. And that is why you see the National Assembly, they are on top of the Chief of Army Staff. Why is this happening? Why is this not happening? What happens here? Because they are supposed to be concerned. But when we leave it as it is an army fight, why are they not doing well now? No, it becomes unfair. They are the ones dying. Nobody wants to die. When a soldier dies, when I hear a lieutenant colonel is killed, and I know the extent to which that lieutenant colonel is trained, it pains me. It pains me. A young officer who left NDA just last year, he has not started life, he's killed in it. It pains me. It's painful.
Now that our young men have taken up kidnapping as a profession, what is the way forward?
Every community deserves a number of criminal records. The system breeds them. You heard about the woman who have done 25 years in Canada, relocated to Nigeria after 1 month was arrested for stealing. Never stole one kobo in Canada. He had no way of doing it. You can't do it. You can't do the wrong thing in Canada. You see, it came to a climb that it is the Indian, it's society. It's been in the press everywhere, unemployment, injustice, and favoritism, nepotism, all the others, everything combines. In fact, the bottom line is poverty created by the system. What is the way out? What is the shortcut? Cybercrime. Where's your laptop? Brag, convince this guy, form a company on the laptop. Come tell somebody you are selling crude oil. He wants to make it. He wants to make it. He's intelligent. He goes there. They say no vacancy. Goes there. They say which senator send you. Go there. You went to interview. They say which paper do you drop. You know all those things. Then you go mad. A rebellion against the system itself also pushes some of these boys to go into this ground. I'm not saying all of it. The typical unemployment and the typical kidnapping, looking for fast money, may be largely as a result of this nature of unemployment and the level of poverty. And the poverty level is not only those who are unemployed. Not only those who are unemployed. Sometimes you go to the police station, and I am one of those who are against police taking bribe on the road, and when they are caught, they are fired, they are dismissed. No, you haven't solved the problem. You have not solved the problem. The policeman who have he has no home, he has no barrack, he has to enter bus to go home, to go to the office. He's given his salary cannot take him there, and so on. Every day he has his uniform, which is an asset to him, to say, my friend, give me a receipt for this. If you don't give me, let's go. Then you say, take 2,000. It is not because he wants to do that. It is because he's internally pain with the system. Okay? Do you see any law anywhere that people are bailed with 200, 2,000 naira in a police station? There is no provision for it. But go to a police station and they say, no, unless you bring 10,000, they're not going to bail you. There's no law anywhere. If these people, young men and women, are comfortable in their job, they will be honest with the job and there will be commitment to the country, to their cause. There's a missing link. There's a missing link. And it is all strata of society. Be it teachers, be it civil servants. Everybody is thinking, look at the standard of living, look at how much you come on the road, see what is happening. This thing they say, this price is not like this again. No, this everything is going on, you're wondering how you're going to meet it. Then one boy said there's an opportunity. You do this thing, you start weighing whether or not to do it. You say, let me take the chance. That is the day probably you are caught. It's all over. So the people taking risks, even if you were not a thief, have become the order of the day. So crime, so labor of crime just unnecessarily and unfortunately become an industry.